Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Knitting and Manifesting with Joe. It's good to be with you on another episode. On today's episode, I'm going to start knitting the PetiteKnit sweater. I think this name is pronounced Hanstholm Sweater. This is going to be my first sweater project. The two projects that I did before this was a sock, and I did a beanie hat after that. And I'm excited to be doing this project, and I have started, as you can see, and I will discuss a little bit of the pattern. But before I go into the project and the pattern, I'm going to share with you the yarn that I got and what type of yarn it is. I love the feel so far. I love the texture, and I believe this is going to turn out to be an extremely beautiful sweater. So let's go and I'll show you what I got. So I got a million of these yarn balls, as I call them, from, where did I get it from? I got it from Michael's. And this is Lion brand. So Lion brand yarns. And the mixture is acrylic, wool. Yep, just acrylic and wool. And as I advance in my fiber arts journey, I'm going to be playing around with different yarn types. And I know I hear my daughters talking about mohair and alpaca and all the others. I'm not familiar with lots of these terms, but I'm going to familiarize myself with them. And I'm going to start trying out different yarn type and materials and textures and seeing what I like, what resonates with my feeling, and what resonates with me and what makes sense for me. But anyway, this has 312 yards. The project, I think, is 1,500 yards. Let's see. No need to guess when I can just look at it. Let's see. Anyway, I'm looking through the pattern and I don't see the yardage. My daughters told me what it was, but I did not locate it on the pattern. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen so you can see what it is. Anyway, whatever the amount was, I know I had to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got 4 balls of yarn, and each ball has 312 yards. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I got a little bit over 1,500 yards, which should give me a completed sweater. So this is the colorway I'm going to start off with first. I'm excited about it, and I know this is going to turn out to be extremely beautiful. And I also have another color pattern that I'm going to do right after this. And let's get into some knitting. So until I find out exactly how to pronounce this name, I'm just going to say the sweater. The sweater is worked from the top down with raglan increases on the yoke. Short rows are worked after the neck rib edge to shape the neckline. The size I'm going to be doing is large, and the large, of course, as you knitters know, each size calls for a different number of cast-ons, and my particular size calls for 112 cast-on. I'll be using 3.5 needles, and that's what the project calls for. It calls for 3.5 and 4 millimeter as well. So we're going to start off with 3.5 millimeter, and we're going to transition to 4. So as you can see, I already started the project, and because this is a big project, the sweater project is actually a long project, I'm going to not make like 1,000 videos. I'm going to probably break this down into 3 parts, 2 to 3 parts. In each part, you will see significant progress. And right now, I'm working on the first part of the pattern, which is the yoke. And the first item calls for 8 rounds in rib. Then I purl across 1 round, and I work 8 rounds again in rib. And right now I'm starting row number 6, round number 6. So let's go. Today's my daughter's birthday, so I'm filming this video on September 12th. Today's the twins' birthday. what's interesting about what I've done so far is this is the first time that I've gone this far in the project without making a mistake. And I'm so happy about that. And the only thing I did differently was to pay a little bit more attention. And I think, as you know, if you want your craft to turn out well, of course, you have to give it your undivided attention, which in knitter's world is, I wouldn't say impossible because nothing is impossible. There are so many other items and so many things we want to do. Sometimes, even if we're not doing anything physically, we're thinking about something, and that can be distracting as well. Also, here's something I discovered about myself in knitting. Yes, I'm always making self discoveries. One thing I learned about myself was I'm always trying to figure out the easiest way to get something done. So if I know I can get from point A to point B safely, I'm going to figure out that way to get from point A to point B. And I've always been like that. I learned that about myself when I used to take math classes. And I would often see my teachers go through long processes to teach us how to solve problems. And I think this first occurred to me in the eighth grade, in the eighth or ninth grade, either in algebra or geometry. Mr. Fleming was my teacher. He was an excellent teacher. He was very thorough, but I just thought that some of these problems can be solved or could be solved a whole lot quicker. Why are we going through 10 steps to get to an answer when I can actually eliminate 5 of these steps, use 5 steps, and get to the same answer, the same results, applying it for every problem of that nature? So early on in my life, so I was 12 years old, I would find ways to get things done quickly and easily and bypass a lot of the process so I can get to the conclusion of what I started. Of course, with the same result. What made this stick was my instructors would actually encourage that. The teachers that I valued and were the best at their craft, they would actually have me come up to the board and showcase my finding and show how I came up with my unique solution. Some of the professors knew of the tricks that I would employ, and others, they were quite surprised that I came up with a shortcut for the math problem. And I applied that principle through life. When I got to university and I took more math classes, more advanced math classes, I would do the exact same thing. I would like, why are they belaboring this point? Why are they laboring so intensely to solve something where you can actually get the same thing done in fewer steps and easier steps? And I would go home once again and toil for many hours, figuring out, hey, how can I make this better? How can I make this work for me? That was encouraged when I was learning. I started applying that principle in many aspects of my life. And now that I'm knitting, when I started doing the knit stitch and the pro stitch, I realized, wait, there's an easier way to do a pro stitch because I'm doing continental knitting, as some of you can obviously tell. And by the way, my daughters laugh at the way I hold my project. I'm like, yeah, that's how I do it. And I'm like, okay, there must be an easier way to do a pro stitch. And guess what? I figured something out. I'm like, yes, I got it. And I figured out something that made my work quicker. And I was all excited and happy with myself. And then one of my daughters was examining my work and she said, Dad, your knit stitches are twisted. And I'm like, they shouldn't be. She's like, it's actually a bit of a struggle to knit with it and it's tight. I'm like, but don't you want tension? She's like, yeah. There's a difference between intentional tension and tension that came about by twisting your stitches in a crazy manner. And I'm like, I don't think I did anything wrong. And she looked at it and Kalila said, oh, your knit stitches are not the problem. Your pro stitches are. And I'm like, I don't know. This is how I'm doing it. And she's like, didn't you learn a quicker way to do it? She's like, yep, your method might not be working, Dad, this time. And I'm like, I'm sure it's working. I'm like, look at it. It's giving me my bump. And, yes, it might be a little tighter when you come back to do a knit stitch on the other round, but, for the most part, it works. And they're like, Dad, you should stick with what you learned. And yeah, I resorted back to what I started out with, and I'm no longer twisting my stitches. But I'll tell you this much, I will find a quicker method. Everything can be improved, ladies and gentlemen. Everything can be improved on, and I'm going to find a way to make the process faster, make it more efficient, and then I'll make some discoveries along the way and create this brand new style of knitting. Anyway, thank you for your comments, and I appreciate your support as always. And I have something I want to share with you. I think that's going to be fascinating to you. I know it's going to be fascinating to you. And here it is. First, I'll tell you a story. I started off by telling you a story, and it's about this guy. We'll call him Steve. I like Steve. I have a mentor named Steve, and he's been a good guy to me. So let's call him Steve, because Steve is a smart person. So Steve decided to build a small town in the middle of somewhere. And Steve proceeded to drill a well and found that there was water. So that's a good thing. After a few months of use, the well ran dry, and the town's inhabitants started to panic. Of course, everyone depended on water. Water was not an option. No water, no survival. So, townsfolk were set in a panic, and they started asking Steve, hey, what are you going to do about this problem? There isn't any water for us to cook, for us to clean, for us to build, for us to wash. And Steve wasn't under any pressure. Steve told those folks that there isn't anything to worry about, guys. It's just water after all. They're like, what do you mean there isn't anything to worry about? We just ran out of water, and the town is not going to survive without water. The town cannot survive without water. And they were correct. The town could not and would not survive without water. But Steve did not panic. And there's a reason why Steve did not panic. In the midst of the town's people concern, complaints, worry, anxiety, fear about what tomorrow might bring, Steve did not panic. Steve told them, it's going to be all right, ladies and gentlemen. There was a contingency plan. They had months of available water to them that was stored for an emergency such as this. Of course, the emergency water would have to be rationed, and no one wanted their water rationed. They wanted to use as much water as they wanted to water their lawn, to cook, to bathe, to wash, to live their lives. Steve did not panic. Why didn't Steve panic? And here's a lesson for all of us. By the way, I am talking about the law of assumption. I'm talking about manifestation. Steve did not panic because Steve knew something that the townspeople did not know or did not learn. Steve knew that he intuitively knew that the place where they had dug the well, the place where the well was, that spot was not the source of the water. And that's what he started sharing with the townspeople. He's like, guys, relax. Where the well was dug, that's not the source of the water. And they're like, what you mean that's not the source? obviously the source because we tap into something and now we have water. We tap into an underground water source, probably an aquifer, and we have water. Steve said, no. Steve was a mild mannered individual and he just assured them that everything was going to be all right. And the reason Steve was so calm was because Steve knew that, once again, that the spot where the well was, that spot was not the source of the water. Steve understood that the earth was the source, not the spot where the well was, but the earth. Therefore, all he had to do was locate a better groundwater vein. Steve knew that if he could locate a better groundwater vein, it would solve the town's crisis. It would solve the problem. And guess what? He did. He found a better groundwater vein, and that town never dealt with a water crisis ever again. Simply because Steve understood that the spot where the first well was dug, was not the source. He knew that the earth was the source. So, how is this relevant to everyday living? How is this relevant to your life and my life? I'm glad you asked. The same principle that Steve employed to solve the town's crisis relating to water, that same principle is present in our lives today. We often confuse the means of supply for the source. The well was a means of supply. The well was not the source. And that's what Steve wanted the people to understand. The well was only a means of supply, wasn't the source. That's why Steve did not panic. Because he knew the well was a means of supply, all he had to do was find the right source. And he knew the source stood right under his feet, the earth. For example, a job is a means of supply, not a source. The money in your bank right now, that's a means of supply. It's not a source. Your career, that's a means of supply. It's not a source. The assets you have, those things are a means of supply. They're not a source. The source is you. You are the source. Think about this. If Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest persons in the world, if his company were to fold, Berkshire Hathaway were to just lose all of its funds right now, today, what do you think would happen to Warren Buffett? In a year from now, Warren Buffett would be a wealthy person again. Why? Because Berkshire Hathaway is not the source. It's a means of supply. It's a holdings company. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they're the sources. You are the source for all the good you desire to be, do, and have in your life. You are your own infinite supply of good. Nothing in life happens to you. Everything happens from you. That means you are a creator. You get to impose your will on any life condition that you deem fit. If you want to elevate your life in any way, guess who has the power to do so? You do. If you want to earn more money, guess whose prerogative it is? It's yours. If you want to be a happier person, guess who controls that? You do. You are the source. So don't confuse a means of supply with the source. If you do that, you will grow reliant on the source, never becoming your best self because you're always thinking that it's something external out there that makes you the person you are. When the truth is, you are the person who makes you who you are. The phenomenal individual that you are, you shaped that person, you molded that person, you created that person because you are the source. So remember that, ladies and gentlemen. When life seems not to be going your way and things are not working out in your favor, don't think that something is happening to you. Tell yourself that, listen, everything happens from me. And if everything happens from me, that means I have the ability to shape events, to alter events, to call events and make them exactly as I want them to be, because I'm the source. So remember this, ladies and gentlemen, you are the source of the phenomena of life. Everything happens from you. So there's no need to fret. There is no need to worry about how things are going to work out, because you get to have your input in every facet of your life's development through the lifespan. You are the cause. Everything else is the effect. That's the power you have as an imaginist. There was this project that I was so happy and grateful to have received. And this project was going to pave the way for many of the other things that I wanted to do in my life. This project was the gift that kept on giving for a while. And I imagined the project would have kept on giving for a long time. I built my entire reality around that project. I framed my living expenses around the money I would get from being a part of that project. And I lost sight of myself during that phase of my life because I started treating that project as a source. And once I started treating that project as a source, things started to go awry. And a project which should have lasted a year longer than it did came to an abrupt end. And I'll be honest, a part of me panicked because I betted a part of my future on the income that would come from that project. I staked a significant part of my future on the income that would be generated from this project. And I treated the project as a source. And when the project came to an unexpected end, not of my own doing, I had to pause and started really evaluating myself and the nature of my thoughts. Because if this project was a source, then all the plans that were tied to this project would fail because they all needed money and this project was funding those plans. After stopping, evaluating the situation, going within, I reminded myself, hey, Joe, hey, bud, you're the source. That project did not make you, and that project is not going to break you. You are the source, yes. The project helped you and your family in significant ways, and you're grateful. But at the end of the day, the project is just a project. The project was a means of supply. It was not the source. Once I reminded myself that the project was not the source, the most incredible thing happened. Within 6 months, I had something that was once again worth 10 times what this project was worth. Simply because I reminded myself that I was a source. And as a source, as the creator of my reality, it's my job to create. And that's exactly what I did. I simply went into the imaginative realm and I started creating. And I formed my life around what my desire was. And much more than I had planned came to fruition. Because if I had gotten something of the equivalent value, I would have been satisfied. I would have been, well, not really satisfied. I would have been happy, temporarily happy. But I went within and I created something that was substantially, exponentially more valued than what I just lost. And the same power lies within you. You are the source. You are the cause of the phenomena of life. If you want it, go there. Bring there, here. Turn the not yet into the already. That's all you have to do. And persist and believe. Try it. And you'll see how it's going to work out. It's going to work out beautifully, ladies and gentlemen. That's a promise. It's going to work out beautifully. Try it for yourself. And you'll see. So remember, you are the source. So when I end each episode with whatever follows I am, you become, that's what that means. I am is the source. I am happy. Happiness at this point is the object, it's not the subject. I am is the subject. That means you're the source, you're the creator. I am wealthy. That means you're the source. Every day you wake up, remind yourself of who you are. Tell yourself what you want to be. Smile. Begin your day filled with gratitude, knowing that you're going to determine exactly what it is you want to experience because you're the source. I am. Whatever follows I am, you become because you are the source. So that's what I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to make this a short video and I will be back with you with another video. So this is likely going to be a 3-part series video. I'll try to keep it at 2, but if it goes to 3, then that's what it is. This is where we are right now. And I'm excited. So this is the beginning of the PetiteKnit sweater. It's called the PetiteKnit Hanstholm Sweater. And I will put this up for now, and this is what it looks like. I finished the first stage of this pattern, and what comes next will be my increases. So I'm going to start increasing after this. Well, no, I think I have one more thing to do. Let's see. So I started on the yoke, and what comes next? So I'm going to work the yoke. So I thought I started my increases after this. I actually don't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work this yoke in stockinette stitch. And once the neckline is shaped, then I'm going to start on the raglan increases. So this is where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. Before you know it, this will turn into a beautiful sweater. I am happy, I'm excited and thrilled as always. And thank you for being a part of this journey with me. And remember, whatever follows I am, you become. Peace.